The next one's going to be similar, or this one's going to be similar to my past one of the investment banking to private equity to MBA ladder is a wealth trap distressed as a dream. So there's the golden path in finance. Everyone agrees it's the dream. Investment banking, then private equity, then top tier MBA program, then back to buy side as a senior investor. Each step is more prestigious and more lucrative than the last, and almost nobody on it ever stops to ask whether the staircase actually leads where they think it does. Personally, I'm more along the lines of realizing it might be a trap. Not that it's bad, these are all excellent choices. It's a trap because it's designed to keep you climbing, and the higher you climb, the harder it becomes to ever get off. Let me walk you guys through each rung and show where the floor disappears. So, start with the thing let's start with the thing no one buddy admits. Almost nobody actively chooses this path. They defaulted into it. You do banking because the smart kids do banking. You do PE because that's the banking exit. You do MBA because that's the PE exit. And then you go back because that's, what you're supposed to do. Every rung is justified entirely by the next rung. At no point does anything or anyone compute whether the top of the staircase is somehow where they actually want to be standing. It's a path made of momentum, and momentum feels like a decision because it's hard and competitive, and you have to earn each step. But difficulty isn't a direction. You can work incredibly hard climbing towards a destination you never really picked. And I do think there's a lot of value early on in getting banking or PE experience, but I don't think you should blindly go into this path. Now for the costs, because they're enormous and hidden. The MBA is a very clear example. 2 years out of the workforce, 200,000 plus in tuition and living costs. And the part that people forget, you're not earning money for those 2 years. And which at the stage of a finance career is several hundreds of thousands of dollars at that time. Add it up, and a top MBA is close to $500,000 or more, potentially $1 million decision. And what does it buy you? Re-entry into a track you were already on. You leave the buy side, you spend 2 years and a ton of money earning the right to go back to the buy side. It's sold as investing in yourself, but when you run the actual numbers, it's often one of the worst returning investments in finance someone can make. Now, it can compound very heavily in terms of your network if you meet people and they bring you business later. But when you look at the pure numbers and just looking at it as an investment, it is a pretty rough decision to make at that point. Here's the mechanics of what makes it a trap, though, of this entire golden dream. At every rung, your compensation goes up, and almost everyone lets their lifestyle rise to meet it. The apartment, the car, the standards of living, the obligation. So the more you earn, the more you need to maintain. And it becomes near terrifying to ever step off. This is where golden handcuffs start to come in. And people talk about them like they're a vague metaphor, but they aren't. They're a precise financial mechanism. The cost of leaving rises faster than your desire to stay. By the time you're senior enough to have real options, walking away means torching an income you've completely organized your life around. So you don't. You climb the next rung instead, which tighten the cuffs on the next one. A very senior person I've seen very closely, he's bringing in millions of dollars a year, and he still can't leave despite, being 50 and has made millions of dollars throughout everything. He's too deep in the lifestyle comp with his country club memberships, his 2 to 3 houses that he still has mortgages on, and all of the networking events he has to go to maintain this persona and this image, so people in his mind will still bring him business. It's not a cautionary tale you hear once. On this path, it's the median outcome. There's so many people with 2 or 3 country club memberships and a couple hundreds of thousands in mortgages a year, and I mean, yes, it's a terrible problem to have, or it's a great problem to have very first world, but they can't ever leave. Wages are not wealth as well, and that's my deepest problem with this outcome. This one undoes the whole "this is the road to wealth" premise. This path optimizes for income, enormous high status income, and some of the best income you can make, but income and wealth are two different things, and tax codes make sure of it. Wages get taxed at the highest rates there are. They don't compound. Then when you stop, they stop when you do. the genuinely wealthy people on this exact path didn't get wealthy from their salaries. They got wealthy from equity, from carry, from ownership stakes, from a piece of the thing itself. And typically you don't touch real equity until you're many, many rungs up, years in, if ever. So you can spend a decade as a high earner on this path and almost own nothing that compounds. You feel very wealthy. The cash flow is real, but you're renting your lifestyle from a salary, not building an asset. The prestige is why this is so alluring to a lot of people. A VP, vice president title feels like real wealth, but it is a very expensive wage for, the bank, and it's a very expensive salary. Now, let me be fair. This isn't this path is bad. This path is the default, and default should be examined. There's a version where the latter is exactly right. If you genuinely love investing, want to be a career allocator, and find the work itself meaningful, then the long climb is the point, and the equity does eventually come. For that person, it's a dream. It's not a trap. It becomes a trap when you're using it as a proxy, when I'll do the prestigious safe thing and wealth will follow, is standing in for a destination you never actually defined. So define everything first. What are you optimizing for? Ownership, freedom, a specific number, the work itself, then look at the next rung and honestly ask yourself, does this move me closer towards that, or does it just feel safe and impressive while extending the climb? And understand the asymmetry. The cheapest time to step off is early, before the cuff tightens and the lifestyle lock in. The equity that builds real wealth, owning something, is available off the ladder too, and often sooner than the path ever would land to. You don't necessarily need to spend 6 years in an MBA earning the right to maybe get a sliver of ownership. In some lanes, you can just directly own the thing. The IBPE MBA ladder is one of the most impressive things you can do in your 20s, and that's also exactly why it's dangerous. It's so obviously prestigious that you can climb the whole thing on autopilot and never once check whether you're climbing towards the life you want or just away from this discomfort of choosing. Prestige is not equity, always remember that, and a title is not freedom. And a path everyone agrees is a dream, especially in finance, is still worth examining like an investment, because that's what it is. Pick your destination on purpose, then decide if the staircase actually goes there. Now, again, and I've said this a million times, I do think it is important to get the experience, though. You go investment banking, go to a startup and try to get some equity. I think that's one of the best paths out there, because coming in with that experience of banking for 2 years compared to just going startups right away, you learn so many invaluable skills that other people simply don't have. So just keep it in mind, and keep in mind what you want to do. And I hope you all like this video. Like, comment, and subscribe.